In this Blender tutorial, I'll show you how to use the graph editor for beginners. And the graph editor is a really great editor type for editing and managing keyframes in an animation. Before we start, I wanted to let you know about my Blender Beginners Fundamentals tutorial playlist, where I have many different videos on specific topics for beginners. So I have an animation for beginners tutorial, sculpting for beginners, lighting for beginners, retopology for beginners, and so many more beginner fundamental videos. So if you want to check out that playlist, link will be in the description. So let's make a very basic animation of this cube moving. So I'll hit G and then I'll bring it over on the X-axis, place it there, and then I'll hit K to add a keyframe, and I'll just add location. Now here in the Blender timeline, I'm just going to move over to frame 150 and I'll hit G to grab and then hit X, drag it over and place it just right there, and then hit K again, and we're going to insert another location. So we have a keyframe at the starting and the keyframe at the end. So if I play the timeline, the cube is just going to move. So now what if I want to edit the keyframes? Well, what I can do is use the graph editor. So to get to the graph editor, I can move my mouse right up here in the corner when the crosshair appears, and I can click and then drag out, and then I can let go, and that is going to split the window. Now if I click here to change the editor type, I can just change this to the graph editor. And let's just make the graph editor a little bit bigger, and then I'll hit the space bar just to play the timeline. And also right here on the timeline, I'm going to make the end frame shorter so that the animation will loop once it gets to the end. So here's the graph editor, and there are three main sections of the graph editor. There's this side panel right here, which you can drag and close, or you can click on the arrow and drag it out. Then there is this center part of the graph editor, and then there is this panel here, and to open and close this panel, you can either drag it, or you can hit the N key. The N key is going to open and close that side panel. And then for more advanced features and settings, there are also all of these settings right here, so like the view settings, select settings, marker, and so on. But most of the time, I don't even use these options, but I did just want to let you know that they're right here if you want to search for something specific. Now to navigate in the graph editor, you can scroll with your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. You can also just click with your middle mouse wheel to pan around. And then if you want to change the size of the graph editor, you can hold down Control and then middle click. So Control, middle click, and drag, and you can squish it down if you want to see a lot of the keyframes. If, for example, you have a long animation, or if you have a very subtle animation, you can Control click and then drag it way down like this, and then you can make it very flat. So this left side panel is going to show you all of the keyframes in your animation. So it's a really nice way to manage all the keyframes. So there's some arrows here. So if I just open up all these arrows here, you can see first there is a cube. And so that's this cube because we have that cube selected. If I, for an example, added a plane here, then there isn't any keyframes on this plane. So there isn't anything here in the graph editor. But if I select the cube, you can see here's the cube. So I can open up the cube. Then there's cube animation. So these are all the keyframes on the cube. So I can open this up, and then there's object transforms. So because we added location values, there's going to be an X location, a Y location, and a Z location. Now you can see if I click on each one of these keyframes, it's going to highlight them. And because we animated the cube on the X axis, if I click on the X location, it is going to highlight that. But if I click on Y and Z, you can see they're just straight. So the Y axis is just straight and the Z axis is straight because we didn't add any keyframes, but we added keyframes to the X location. Now there aren't any rotations or scales. So let's say that I want to add a rotation to the cube. So I'll go around here kind of to the starting, I'll hit K, and then I will insert a rotation keyframe. Then I'll drag the timeline to kind of around the end, and I'll just rotate the cube and then hit K and add another rotation. So now here in the timeline, you can see there are two more keyframes, and as well as that, there is now an X rotation, a Y rotation, and a Z rotation. And because I rotated this around on all axes, you can see if I click on each one of them, you can see here is the X rotation, the Y rotation, and the Z rotation. But to keep things nice and simple for this tutorial, I'll just press Ctrl Z to get rid of those keyframes because I'm just going to use the location keyframes. Now there are also some different useful buttons right here. So the first one is a lock icon. So if I don't want to accidentally move the keyframe around, what I can do is click on the lock here on the X location. And now even if I try to select it and move it around, it's completely locked and I can't move it. Then the next one here is this check mark, and this is going to disable those keyframes. So for an example, I am going to move the cube up on the Z axis as well. So in the timeline, I'm going to go to frame 250. Then I'll hit G and then hit Z to bring it up on the Z axis. And then I'll hit K and I can insert location. So now if I kind of zoom out here and click on the Z location, here's the Z location, and then here's the X location. keyframe. So now if I go back to the starting and play this, you can see the cube is moving on the x-axis, but it's also moving up on the z-axis. So if, for example, I wanted to disable one of the keyframes, what I could do is go back to the starting, I can turn off the check mark here on the z location, and now if I play this, it's only going to move on the x-axis, but it won't move up on the z. But if I check mark it, then it will come back, and now it's moving up along the x and the z. Now there's also this little wrench icon, and this is going to hide any modifiers. Now these modifiers are not the object modifiers like on the side panel here. That's not these type of modifiers. There are some different modifiers which you can add to keyframes, which I'll be going over later. But if you want to disable the modifiers, you can click on that wrench icon. And then finally, there is an eye here, and the eye here is just going to hide it from the view. So if I click on the eye to hide the z location, you can't see the z location in the graph editor, but it's still going to affect the animation. If you want to disable it from the animation, you're going to have to click on the check mark. If you click on the check mark, that'll actually disable it, but if you click on the eye, that's just going to hide it from the graph editor's view. So let's now talk about the center part of the graph editor. This is the main part of the graph editor. So as I already mentioned, you can middle click and drag to move around. You can zoom in and out with the middle mouse wheel, and you can control and then click with the middle mouse wheel to kind of change the size of things. So these little dots here, these are each individual keyframe. So for example, right here on the very starting of the tutorial, I put a keyframe here, then I went over here to frame 150 and I added another keyframe. Now vertically is representing the value of the keyframes. So you can see there's 0 if there's no keyframes, and then there's -2, -4, and there's also 2, 4, 6, and so on. So vertically, that is going to be the value of the keyframes, and then horizontally, that is going to be the time in the animation. So you can see if I just click and drag here, there are these two blue lines. So if I drag horizontally, that is going to change the time, and if I drag vertically, that is going to change the value. So horizontally is time, and then vertically is the value. So with that in mind, it's very easy to understand what this is doing. So horizontally is time, so that's saying that this keyframe is at the beginning, and then this keyframe is at the end, and then vertically is the value, and because this is the x location, as we play through the animation, the cube is going to move along the x-axis. Now you can edit the keyframes just by selecting the dot here, and you can hit G to grab. You can also hit R to rotate, and that'll rotate those handles, and you can also hit S to scale and scale the handles. So for example, if I wanted the cube to move farther, I could hit G to grab, and I could just drag it up here, and now if I just play the animation, you can see the cube is going to move quite a lot farther. Or if I drag it way down to a smaller value, you can see the cube isn't going to really move that far on the x-axis. And then if you wanted the cube to move much faster, you could drag the keyframe back to the starting, and now you can see the cube is moving really fast. Or if you want to move much slower, just drag it way out, and now the cube is moving really slow on the x-axis. It's still moving up on the z-axis because we added the z keyframes, but it's not moving very fast on the x-axis. And then if you want to delete a keyframe, if you select the keyframe, you can either hit the delete key, or you can hit the X key and then delete the keyframes. Now you can also click on these little handles here, and you can drag the handles around to change how the keyframe acts. So a very simple example is, let's say that you want the cube to move really fast and then stop really abruptly. Well, on default, you can see this line here in between each keyframe is very smooth. So when I play the animation, you can see the cube is really slow, then it starts to speed up, and then it slowly slows back down. Well, let's say I wanted the cube to stop abruptly. What I can do is click on the handle, and I can drag the handle back here, and so now you can see that this line here, the red line, is super sharp. And let's also make this a bit faster, so I'll just drag the keyframe right over here so it's a bit faster. So now when I play this, you can see the cube starts to speed up, and then it stops really abruptly. Whereas before, if I kind of drag this out here, it starts to speed up, and then it slowly slows back down. So that is very useful for changing the speed and smoothness of the keyframes. And what you could also do is select this handle here, and I could drag it down. And this way, if I play the animation, you can see the cube's actually going to go backwards before it goes forward. So why is that? Well, you can see I dragged this down here. I dragged the handle down, so this red line is actually going back into the negative values. Because as I mentioned, the vertical values, so up and down, that is going to be the value of the keyframe. So if I play this, the line actually goes down, so the cube moves backwards, and then it moves forwards on the x-axis. Now there's also another way to change how the handles look. So if you select everything in the timeline, or just select a few of the keyframes, you can hit the T key, and the T key is going to change the Keyframe Interpolation. Now on default, it is this Bezier, and Bezier is nice and smooth. So if I click on Bezier, everything's going to be the same, and I can just drag these handles around. But let's say that I want the cube to move at a very consistent speed, and I don't want any smoothing. Well, if I select all the keyframes by hitting the A key to select all the keyframes, then I can hit T again, and I can change it to linear instead. So when I change it to linear, those handles are going to disappear. So now if I play this, you can see the cube is moving at a specific speed throughout the entire animation, and it almost looks really robotic. Now there's another one here, so if I hit the T key again, as well as Bezier and linear, another common one is the constant. So if I change it to constant, if I play this, the cube isn't going to move until it gets to the keyframe, and then it's going to immediately jump up here to the other value. So this is really great if you're blocking out an animation and you just want to block out the poses of a character. You can change it to constant, and then you can just make each blocked out pose. But then also linear is really good for certain animations, maybe if you're making like a looping animation and you want something to move at a consistent speed, or if you want everything to look nice and smooth like a character animation, when you're finalizing a character animation, you can change it back to Bezier. Now, there are also a bunch more here. So again, if you hit the T key to open up the Keyframe Interpolation, there's a bunch more here, and you can kind of look at these little icons to kind of see what they do. Most of these I don't really use, but there's kind of a fun one here, which I did want to show you, called Bounce. So if I change this to Bounce, you can kind of see it's creating this little bouncing effect. So if I press the space bar to play the animation now, you can see it looks like the cube is almost bouncing off of a wall. And that kind of looks a little bit weird. It would make more sense if you were making like a falling ball animation and having a ball like bounce off of the ground, but you can see kind of how that might be useful. So let's now hit the N key to open up the side panel, or you can click on the arrow and drag out, and I'm going to show you what these other settings do here on the side panel. Now these active F-curve settings, I've really never needed to use this, so let's just close it. But right here you can see there is an active keyframe setting. So these settings are settings we've pretty much already gone over. So there is the interpolation. So if you hit the T key, you can change the interpolation, or if you have the keyframe selected, you can change it right here. So for example, I could change it back to Bezier. Now, depending on the interpolation you're using for the selected keyframe, there might be a few different settings. So if I select the first keyframe and change the type to Bezier, there's going to be a few different settings for the handles. So there's the value and the frame of each handle, but it's much easier and it makes much more sense just to drag around the handle instead of using these values. And then as well as that, there's the keyframe value, and that's how far it is in the animation, so where it is in the timeline. And then there's also the value, so vertically is going to be the value, and then horizontally is going to be the time. Now let's click on the next tab here, which is modifiers. So there's a bunch of cool modifiers which you can add to keyframes. So a very common one, let's click on add modifier. A very common one that I like to use is the noise modifier. So now if I play this, you can see that the red line looks really noisy. And if you take a look at the cube, you can see the cube is kind of moving around a lot. It's acting all noisy. So there's a few different settings. You can change like the scale, so I can maybe make this bigger. I could also turn up the strength. And now when I play this, you can see the cube is moving along the x-axis, but it's kind of wobbling back and forth. There's also an influence, so if I turn the influence up and down, that's just going to change the strength of the entire noise modifier, and there's also a strength value right here. And there's a few other settings, like you can change the offset, so if you want to change where it is. You can also change the phase, and that's kind of just randomizing it. So this noise modifier is really useful if you're making like a handheld camera animation. And I actually have a tutorial on how to do that, so if you want to learn how to create a kind of handheld camera animation effect, you can check out that video linked in the description, and we add keyframes to the camera's animation, and then it makes the camera looks like it's just kind of moving around and wobbling around a little bit. Another useful one that I like to sometimes use is the limits. So let's add the limit modifier. So now you can see the limit modifier is underneath the noise. And what I could do is turn on the X minimum and the X maximum. And then I can turn up these values. So let's turn up the X minimum and X maximum. So you can see by turning this Y value, the Y minimum, that is going to add a minimum value to the noise. And then also there's this maximum here, and that's the maximum value. So what I'm going to do is press the A key to select all the keyframes, and I'll scale them down, and then I'll hit Y to scale them down on the Y axis so they're much more straight. Then what I can do is turn up the strength of the noise so it's really strong. So now you can see the noise is very strong, strong, so the cube is going to quickly go back and forth. But then because we turn on the limits here, there's going to be a minimum and maximum value. So if I play this, you can see the cube is just kind of switching back and forth. So this can be useful occasionally. One example where I think this could be useful is if you're animating like a flickering light and you want to just randomly animate the emission value, so animate the brightness value of the light, you could just kind of randomly animate it flickering back and forth. And then if you want to hide the modifier, you can click on the check mark here just to hide it. And also if you want to get rid of the modifier, you can click on the X button just to get rid of the modifier. Now there's also another useful option in the modifiers, and that is this restrict frame range. So what I'm going to do is just delete both of these modifiers, and let's just drag the X keyframe right up here. So now if I play this, you can see the cube is just moving along the X-axis. Let's now add a value on the Z. So I'll hit the K button. We're going to insert location, then I'm going to drag over to maybe around frame 90 or so, and I'll bring it up on the Z axis, and then I'll hit K and add location. So if I play this, the cube is moving up on the Z as well as the X. So now what I'm going to do is select the Z location. And what I can do is click on add modifier, and we can add noise. So now, as well as it moving up on the X axis, it's also moving up on the Z axis. So now let's use the restrict frame range. First though, let me just turn up the scale a little bit so it's not quite as sharp, and then also maybe turn up the strength. So now we'll turn on the restrict frame range, and I can turn up the end value first. So we'll drag the end value to maybe about here, and then I'll turn up the start value. And let's also make the strength a little bit bigger and maybe turn down the scale. So now if I play this, you can see it's going to move nice and smoothly, but then right here at about frame 32, it's going to start to move up and down on the Z axis and kind of jitter around, and then it will kind of smooth out. And then there's also this blending in and blending out. So if I drag up the blending in and the blending out, you can see now that noise is going to be smoother at the beginning and the end. So if I play this, the cube is moving, then it kind of jitters back and forth, and then it gets smooth. Now, if you've set up a modifier like a noise modifier and you want to add it to other animated values, you can actually just copy and paste the modifier instead of changing all the settings and adding it over again. So what you can do with the noise modifier is you can click on this button here, and that is going to copy the modifier. Then what I can do is I can click here to select the X location, and I can click on this button here, which is going to paste the modifier. So now if I play this, you can see the X location and the Z location both have the same modifiers. So that's very useful if you just need to quickly copy and paste the same modifier data. So that's the basics of how to use the graph editor in Blender. So I hope you found this video helpful, and thank you for watching. And if you'd like to watch some more of my animation videos, then I do have an animation for beginners tutorial where I show you the entire basics of animation in Blender. And then I also have a video of the basics of animation and keyframes in Blender where I go a little bit more in depth on keyframes. So if you want to check out those videos, the links are in the description. And then before I end this video, I wanted to let you know about a really high quality and detailed animation course. P2 Design's Alive animation course is packed with tons of animation learning content. Great for beginner and intermediate Blender users. This course will teach you the basics of animation, adding keyframes, interpolation modes, using the timeline, graph editor, and there are also some beginner animation exercises in the course. The course also shows you how to make a walk cycle and has some other animation tutorials. Check out the course with the link in the description, and if you purchase the course through my affiliate link, you'll be helping to support this channel.